What's up, Riverdalians, and welcome back to the River's Edge. I'm your co-host, Haley, and I am unfortunately not here with the host, Abby, today. She is recovering illness, probably like the cold or a flu kind of thing. She will be back next week. We are recording our episode with Lachlan this week, so it should be out sometime in the near future once we edit it. It's kind of a big deal for us to have our first official big name on the show. It's not too late to enter your questions for him if you have any. We've already gotten a lot and written down a lot. As we said in the last episode, just try to steer clear from questions that have already been asked because most likely they've already been written down. Questions that could be deemed inappropriate or easily misconstrued. Try to keep them concise. If you wouldn't ask it to your grandma, don't ask us to ask him. Today, I am alone, and I will be talking about something that I can talk about forever. I'm going to be examining a little bit, or just talking about a little bit, the Jarchie Longcon. I've always wanted to talk about this, but Abby is not as big of a fan of Jarchie as I am. So I've always wanted to talk about it on the show. And I think it's a perfect time for me to do a short solo episode talking about my thoughts on the Jarchie Longcon. So I know a lot of things, and I forget things easily. So I thought it would be funny for me to try to recount it from memory and then go back and research it during the episode and read quotes and sources. I'm going to try to recount what the Jarchie Longcon is from memory, and then I'll fill in the missing pieces later on. So, basically what the Jarchie Longcon, quote-unquote, is, it started a long time ago with Roberto Gersacasa, the showrunner, creator of Riverdale. Archie Comics fan for a super long time, him. And actually the creative director of Archie Comics currently. And he has been for a while. So, he's a huge super fan. He grows up being a huge super fan of the Archie Comics. He is a gay man himself. And so where this theory stems from, it begins in the 2000s when in New York he produced an not even off-Broadway play entitled Archie's Weird Fantasy, which was about Archie Andrews coming out as gay, being roommates with Jughead. I don't think he ever actually fell in love with Jughead in the play. This play is basically lost media. We know that it exists. There's no recording of it. There's a couple of pictures. But it's called Archie's Weird Fantasy. I can't recount the exact details of the play because I've never seen it. I've only heard the details of the play being recounted. But basically, Archie comes out as gay and he's roommates with Jughead. Writing this play, he's about to produce it. He's sharing it all over. And then he gets a letter and a cease and desist from Archie Comics themselves. And they say that it is basically, the play is defamating Archie, the character, by making him gay. So he gets this cease and desist, and he changes Archie's name to Buddy, Jughead's name to Tapeworm, and I forget the other ones, but Jughead was Tapeworm and Archie was Buddy. And they kiss, and it's a big gay thing. Many years later, he's the creative director of Archie Comics, and he creates Riverdale. And he is the showrunner of Riverdale. And the original pilot script, I will also bring into, because in the original pilot script, Jughead is deaf, and he speaks in sign language. And Archie also speaks in sign language with him. So that's a very, intimate kind of relationship. Their relationship is has much more stories underneath it and memories underneath it that you can't really see just from the outside looking in the original pilot script. It's almost more darker, but filled with Roberto's own headcanons. The idea of the Jarchie Longcon is, the Longcon means that it's basically just, so this was really a big idea when the show was going on. So it was basically the idea that in the end, Jarchie would always win, no matter how long it took to get there, no matter how crazy and twisty the path was. Jarchie would be the end game. And so that's why it was called the Longcon. That's when they run away in season 3. In season 4, when they're very close, you killed Jughead, you killed my best friend. Tales from the Dark Side is heavy with Jarchie. The East Village monologue, I can't believe I almost totally forgot about that. I had this stupid idea that after graduation, instead of going to college, we'd both move to New York. You'd be this writer and I'd be this musician, and we'd both live in the East Village or something, just doing our thing. Hello? So the idea was that it was being built up from the beginning, and that it would end up being solidified and become fruitful at the end. And that kind of happened with Veronica, I feel like. But Veronica felt less genuine to me. It felt more like what people call a queer bait. I know it wasn't a queer bait because they actually did end up kissing and all that. Like, it wasn't like a queer bait, but I feel like it was more falsified than what Jarchie would have been if Jarchie had been given a chance. Jarchie would have been much more genuine. You can just see, like, the threads of where it comes together. It's my favorite ship, like, of all time, because you can just see where it all comes together. They're so alike, but they're so similar, and Jughead is the artist and the writer, and Archie is his muse. Archie is the main character because the show is a story that Jughead is writing. Jughead sees him as this kind of god, like this kind of unattainable, unassuming, wholly good, can do no wrong kind of man, boy. And it's such a beautiful relationship when you really think about it. So that's basically the idea of the Jarchie Longcon, and it makes me sick that it didn't happen. It makes me so upset because I was gunning for it, and the fact that in the finale they pulled the polycule, which I predicted, by the way, and then didn't show Jarchie. Abby has a copy of the original script of the finale. It originally says, she told me not to show anybody, and I'm not showing you, but I'm telling you. Reggie asks Betty when they're talking, well, did Archie and Jughead do anything? And she says, I don't know, maybe. So that's what they were trying to hint at, I think. And a lot of people say it's because Cole Sprouse didn't want to kiss a man. No, it's because Roberto chickened out. KJ and Cole totally would have done it. KJ would have been totally all for it. I think KJ was all for it. KJ and Cole both were all for it. They loved it. There's a video of Cole saying, oh, I love the Jarchie Longcon. He's talking about, I love Jarchie. Like, he totally would have done it. It's just because Roberto chickened out. So, the Jughead Paradox has a lot of Jarchie ideas, but it's not my favorite episode. There's a long video essay about the Jarchie Longcon that I think everybody should watch, because I think it's the best. Okay, I'm looking up the Jarchie Longcon master post. I think I've probably seen this, and I probably have it saved. This is the Jarchie Longcon master post, and I'm about to read maybe the whole thing, maybe a few highlights. A quick synopsis of the Jarchie Longcon. Doesn't cover Archie's general relationships with men or possible gain outside of Jughead. So there's a lot of that with Reggie, Mad Dog, Eric. Every man that he interacts with is homoerotic in some way. I'd even argue Fred and FP back in the day were also very close in a way that boys can't really be close. It's almost a thing similar to Byler, where I hate to bring Stranger Things, but it's a good comparison because there's so much Byler proof, but the fandom is so much bigger that they get so much more discussed about it, and so you can come up with more, you can have more revelations about Byler by looking at the text because there's just more people going through it and doing that, and so more people equals more thinking equals more content. In similar vein to Byler, Mike is kind of like Archie. Their relationships are kind of similar because Mike is having internalized homophobia, being angry at Will. Not in this season, but in seasons 4 and 3. 3 and 4. Being angry at Will and mean to Will because in seasons 1 and 2, he was incredibly close to him and cared about him so deeply. You could tell, but it's because they were little boys. And it's fine when you're really close to your little friend and you say, nobody cares about Will as much as I do. It's fine when you sleep in a hospital with him, even though you're terrified of hospitals because you love him and care about him so much. It's fine when you're a little boy. But when you're older, it becomes kind of questionable. And he realizes that, and Mike realizes that and understands that. And I feel like that is probably a very similar thing with Jarchie. Because the summer before season 1, they obviously had a fight. They were young and so incredibly close. And then the second that they're going to turn 15 and Archie is becoming a man, according to everybody except himself, it's not okay to be that close to your best friend anymore. And you have to like girls, and you have to look at Betty, and you have to do whatever you're doing with Mrs. Grundy. And girls are looking at you, and they never really have before. They've always known that you're cute, but they never thought that you were hot and sexy. It must be so overwhelming. And then to not be able to confide in your best friend because people are going to look at you funny because guys don't do that. And because you're cool and a football player and your best buddy is weird. And it wasn't a problem before, but now it is because you're getting older and have to deal with your commitments and follow through with your commitments because things are more important now and you can't skip football practice like you could before because you're in the big leagues now. Like, makes me crazy. In 2003, Roberto Sacasa sets out to debut his play, Archie's Weird Fantasy, in which Archie moves to New York, falls in with Leopold and Loeb, and realizes that he's gay. Leopold and Loeb are these two gangsters from the 20s, theorized to be gay. And so it's literally just like an Easter egg about the gay Archie play. Because there were these two gangsters from the 20s, and Archie meets them and then realizes he's gay. So, yeah, he received a cease and desist letter from Archie Comics and is forced to remove all Archie references and make it weird comic book fantasy. Jughead says the game changed, quote, "He was looking for the girl next door, instead he found me." Jughead notes he would do anything to protect Archie. Cheryl refers to them as Bert and Ernie, historically thought to be husbands. You know, I had the stupid idea that after graduation, instead of going to college, we'd both move to New York. The New York dream is a reference to Archie's weird fantasy. Archie's ideal future involves him living with Jughead. He only mentions their girlfriends when Jughead asks about them. Even then, they're not in the main picture. Archie is Jughead's past, and Jughead is Archie's future. That's a good line. This is a Tumblr master post by Tibby on Tumblr. Ooh, this is a good point that I haven't thought of before. Jughead writes an elaborate story in which the gang kills their principal, Mr. Honey. In the original version, Jughead, Betty, and Archie are pro-murder. In the revised one, Archie is the voice of reason, the good guy of the story, while Betty is still a villain. Jughead's writing frames the show. He is the narrator. He writes stories about the stuff that happens to them, and it is always about Archie. Archie is the star of Jughead's life. Pretty true, pretty true. Yep. Beautiful. It's so beautiful. Easy to just see where the theory, like, it's, I wouldn't even call it a theory, like, where the ship comes from. It's such, makes perfect sense to me. The Jarchie Longcon, I feel like there's not even that much more to talk about, because I feel like I covered it all. You don't need to know the truth of it, you just need to know the feelings, and the feelings that come from it are the most important part. I feel like they're just meant to be. I'm not the biggest fan of Veronica, but Jarchie has always been, like, my home, I guess I could say. It's such a weird way of saying it, but, like, I've had stints with, like, different ships and stuff, like, where I'm like, oh, I like Archie and Reggie a lot right now, which I do, but that's a lot more based on headcanon than any real substance. The average viewer would not pick up on the Jarchie stuff. You really have to look at it and really think about it. And the context of the show and just the context of everything surrounding it, it's like, I don't even know how to put it into words, everything that I think about it. And the Jarchie backpack. They made a backpack in 2017. I had a topic with Archie and Jughead's faces plastered all over it, and I have it, and it's great. Why only Jarchie? Why the Jarchie backpack? The Jarchie community is so special to me, even though the Jarchie community is so special to me, even though I'm so much younger than a lot of people in it. I don't really engage too much with fandom on a day-to-day basis anymore because I'm simply just too busy, and I'm able to articulate my thoughts so much better when I am. So forgive me if any of this episode seemed rushed or I wasn't explaining something, but it's mostly just about my feelings because I just feel it deep in my bones and I can't exactly find the words to say it all the time unless I am engaging with fandom on a day-to-day basis, because most of the time other people are able to articulate it better than me. I find a hard time getting my feelings out of my mouth in a way that makes any sense. It's just, I just feel it. I don't know how to explain it. A lot of people can say it better than me, even though I'm not too active in other spaces anymore. And people say it better than me with AMVs and edits and their fic, and there doesn't have to be a post detailing and chronicling every little bit of evidence from the show. It can just be something that you feel and find within. And it can be a little snippet of a scene, or you want to expand on a small scene. Anything like that. You can feel it deep in your bones. You can just find it. It was kind of just like a ramble because there wasn't really a lot of questions to be asked or answered. Usually it's more of a dialogue than a lecture. It wasn't even really a lecture because I didn't have a formal way of saying it. I hope everybody had a great time listening to me talk about the Jarchie Longcon for a little bit. I hope everybody has a great week. It's not too late to share your questions for Lachlan, for us to ask him. I'll see you next time, next Riverdale Wednesday. Peace.